Every second spent chasing one single idea feels like running headfirst into a wall you don't even see coming. It's that gnawing pit in your stomach when you pour everything you have into a plan that won't bend, won't pivot, won't listen, and suddenly the world starts to close its doors on you. This obsession with one idea, one product, one vision, it's not just a strategy, it's a trap, the kind that's dressed up as certainty, but is really a prison. The harder you push, the tighter the walls close around you, suffocating your potential, your team, your sanity. You know the pain, those restless nights watching your runway shrink, hearing the quiet no behind polite investor meetings, feeling your founder's fire flicker under the weight of relentless pressure. It's brutal, it's raw, it's lonely. Because when a startup goes all in on one idea, it's like betting your life on a single card in a game, the rules of which keep changing without warning. And you can't afford to lose. Not your time, not your passion, not your dream. But here's the thing almost nobody tells you. Putting all your chips on one idea can be the riskiest form of tunnel vision there is, but it also holds a hidden kind of power. If you know how to handle it, if you know when to hold tight, and when to rip the whole table apart. Most founders, investors, leaders out there get it wrong because they confuse focus with stubbornness. They think doubling down means locking themselves in a cage of their own making, convinced that persistence equals success. That grit is not bending no matter what happens. But grit is not blind. Grit is knowing when to fight for your idea and when to fight for yourself, for the freedom to evolve. Because the world is not static, and the best startups don't just survive on their original idea. They survive because they adapt, shift, and, if needed, transform entirely. So what happens when you do decide to go all in? The first weeks, months, maybe years, that idea becomes your entire identity. Every conversation, every dollar, every sleepless night is tied to it. That focus creates a kind of magic, a laser beam so intense it can cut through the noise, cut through doubt, and rally a team that believes. But here's where the shadow creeps in. The line between obsession and blindness disappears. The world around you keeps moving. Competitors innovate, markets shift, customers' needs pivot. And if your single idea doesn't flex, you're not just falling behind. You're crashing into a reality you didn't see. Founders and leaders often fight this silently. The anxiety of watching their idea stall. The terror in admitting, maybe, just maybe, this idea isn't everything it seemed. The pain is crushing because it feels like betrayal, not just of the startup, but of yourself, your vision, your team. That's the brutal trap most don't talk about. The fear of letting go isn't just about showing weakness. It's about fighting the deep human truth that sometimes what seems like failure is just the first step to freedom. The freedom to stop being a slave to a single path. Because when you're stuck on one idea, you limit your own horizon before it even opens. But here's the truth you need to hear and feel deep in your bones. You don't have to build your startup on just one idea. This is not permission to scatter, to lose focus, or to chase shiny objects. No. This is about embracing a reality that every successful founder and leader knows, but rarely admits aloud: the power of strategic flexibility. Successful startups are not stubborn armies charging a hill blindly. They're wise navigators, reading the winds, sensing shifts, and adjusting sails while holding on to a core North Star so clear it doesn't shift. Their mission, their values, their why. This North Star keeps them anchored when every tactic changes, every feature evolves, and yes, every big idea morphs into something new. When your startup goes all in on one idea, you risk falling into a mental prison of this or nothing. But there is a smarter way, a way to hold deep conviction without being stuck, to have vision without being blinded. It means embedding in your process what the best do instinctively: constant questioning. Question everything: your product, your market, your assumptions, your customers, your own beliefs. Not because you want to give up, but because you want to learn faster than the world changes. And here is the real game changer: building your startup on what we might call active evolution. It's the ruthless practice of testing, discarding, refining, and sometimes pivoting right at the edge of pain. It's not a failure to pivot. It's the wisdom to pivot at the right time before pain becomes loss. The most valuable leaders know when to pour fuel into the fire and when to let that fire burn out. Not because they lost faith, but because their faith is so strong it seeks the truth, not comfort. They build startups that are alive, not frozen statues of their first big idea. That kind of startup is a living organism, always sensing, always adapting, always building the next chapter. And here's the secret weapon nobody talks about. It's the community and the ecosystem around you. That network of true alignment. The rare minds who get it. Not just cheerleaders, but fierce allies who challenge your beliefs, who push you beyond what you think you can handle. Because going all in on one idea without the right people is like running the fastest marathon alone, blindfolded. If you want to break through, you need those few who dare to question with you, to push you, to hold you accountable. Not the many, not the crowd, but the few brilliant voices that spark your own fire even higher. Isolation is your enemy. Connection, fierce and authentic, is your power. So, if the startup world ever felt like a lonely place where your single idea traps you in a loop of frustration and fear, know this. Freedom isn't in holding tighter. It's in embracing courage to evolve, to reinvent, to let go without losing hope. It's in knowing that your value doesn't lie in that one idea alone, but in your ability to create, to pivot, to connect, and to keep becoming. This means the real win doesn't come from never deviating. It comes from why you started and who you choose to become in the process. The people who dare to step back, reassess, and break apart their initial concept to build something bigger are the ones who break free and transform the game entirely. Startups that go all in on one idea without this mindset are like boats heading straight for a storm without reading the weather. Startups that go all in with the courage to listen, learn, and change. Those boats know how to navigate the storm, how to find new routes that others don't see. Deep inside, every founder, investor, and leader remembers this tension, a burning desire for certainty mixed with fear of being trapped. The real challenge isn't how much you believe in your idea, it's how much you trust yourself and those around you to see beyond it. If you can build a startup that holds its vision lightly but fights for its mission fiercely, that seeks connection, not comfort, that questions without fear and adapts with clarity, you're not just rolling the dice on one idea. You're building something unstoppable. You're building a legacy that can bend reality, not break under its weight. This is the real future. This is where startups don't just survive by clinging to a single promise. They thrive by daring to become more than what they once imagined, by unchaining from a single idea to a network of ideas in powerful harmony. And that's where the real magic lives, not in loyalty to one rigid path, but in the ruthless, relentless pursuit of truth, connection, and transformation. That's how a startup goes all in, and all the way to something extraordinary.